Shalom, you highly welcome my dear brothers and sisters out there. I'm glad that you just clicked to watch this message today. Today I'm going to be talking about the Jews, and I'm going to be talking about Abraham. I'm going to be talking about people who are believers in what was being taught to them, because I just want to elaborate this, in a very simple form for my brothers and sisters to be able to really understand the nature of what is really going on when we talk about the Jews and the people who have accepted a higher ideology from the one that they themselves were known with. You need to be able to understand. Now, you were being born into a place. Like I said, you're coming over here in my previous videos. Your coming over here is a journey which you have made into this particular dimension. So, but you need to be able to continue this journey for eternity. So you don't have to keep yourself in a place. And keeping yourself in a place is just like accepting or just being comfortable where you are or where you are being born in. In a literal sense, you don't want to make increase. You don't want to increase. You don't want to go up high. So, but you want to stuck yourself. You want to be stagnant in a place where you are. But for the higher beings, for those who want to grow, as you are coming up into this particular dimension, you were being born in whatsoever tribe. It wasn't a coincidence that made you to be born in whatsoever tribe that you came out in, or wheresoever that you found yourself. It is not a coincidence. I'm trying to let you understand that there is something that you did in the previous word, that warranted you to be in a place where you are today. Everything was perfectly orchestrated. Everything was perfectly mapped. Even the body that you are into has already been prepared before you come into this particular body. You need to be able to understand this. So, and now that you are here, you are supposed to grow. Because people who did something in their previous lives and they merited in being in some certain tribes in this particular dimension, this is not the end of that tribe. This is not the end of that, of that body which they are inhabiting. Because there is still a higher body which has already been prepared, because the Most High does things, not just for just the past. He does it for the past, the present, and the future. So he has already prepared even this body that you are seeing, just the same way before you came over here. The body that you are inhabiting has already been prepared before you came here. This is equally the same way as you are living here. The place where you're going to, the body has already been prepared, waiting for those who are going to make it into those dimensions. So now, in those places, the people who are being elevated from here, like I said, there are people who came here and they were being born in Jebusite, they were being born in Haggasite, they were being born in Amorites, they were being born as Jacob among Jacob, they were being born as the Hittites, they were being born as the Perizzites, and different other tribes and ethnicities which they found themselves in this dimension. Some of them will stuck themselves here because they would say, okay, this is how they were being born. This is how they were being born. So they want to stuck themselves here. They don't want to make an increase. They don't want to grow. They forgot that before they came into this particular dimension, there is something they did in the world where they were before they were being born as either Jacob, a Canaanite, a Hamite, Jacob. You see, so there is something they did in that world that warranted them to be here in this particular place. So now that they are here, they came here and they say this is who they are. This is their tradition. This is who they are. So they want to stock themselves here. They don't want to make increase. They don't want to grow because they forgot that they are on a journey, on a life journey that is for eternity. So they want to stock themselves here, but there are people who came And they knew that there is something they did in the previous world before they came into this particular dimension. Now that they are in this dimension, they still knows that they have a journey where they are going to. So they are now walking towards going to that particular place. So they knew this is what you need to be able to understand. They knew that they were coming from somewhere into this dimension. Now that they are here, this body was already being prepared. They are here. So they refuse, to be stuck with, whatsoever, with the tradition of this body, with the tradition of here. Because this is not their end station. This is not where they are. They came here as beings who are in a certain tribes. But they knew that here that they are, they did something that merited them to be here. Yet, since they are here, they want to also continue going for eternity. So they are working towards attaining a better place in the world to come. So they don't want to allow their own body or their own culture, which they came out in, to tie them down in this particular dimension. So this is what you need to be able to understand about the people who are called the Jews. These Jews, or these people, are people who believe into something that was being taught to them. So these people had their own way of tradition. They were being born in whatsoever language, tribes, they have their own way of life or cultures. So, but what happened is these people saw that there is something that still overrides, that supersedes, that goes higher than just being stuck in this tradition. So they want to grow. So they seek a better home where the maker and the builder are mighty ones. So that is to say, they are looking to a place. They are looking for a place where mighty ones were the ones that builded it. Yes, this place that they came out in, like I said, there's something that they did. There is something that they did in the world before they came here. Now that they have come here, there is still a place that is more better, more glorious than this particular place which they are. And now they know that place, the builder, the people who made it, some people who were here, who came into this particular body or into this particular tribe or into this particular dimension, there are some people that made it out of here into that particular higher dimension. So they know that they are they are visitors. So what happened is you need to be able to understand that the message of this elevation is what is being taught to the people. So a lot of people are going to hear it, but it is very, very few that are going to be that are going to pick to the call that is being called among the multitude. You need to be able to understand it. This call goes out to people who are of all creed, nations, tribes, and tongues, and whatsoever. You need to be able to understand it. So, and what is it all about? In order to elevate those beings, from their tradition, from their way of life, into something that is higher. This is not trying to tell you that your tradition is going to be destroyed just because you have been elevated. No, this is not the message. There is a difference between somebody who is trying to tell you that, okay, I have something that supersedes what you have. I am giving you, let me give you an instance, because some people are really misunderstanding when you come to the term when you talk about Jews, and you talk about people who are under tradition, who are trying to be on their own, or people who need to grow spiritually. Now, you need to be able to understand something, and I'm going to be giving you now a very simple analogy about something for the people who try to think that maybe they are being told in order to do that is elevate. Trying to elevate them is just like trying to tell them that your tradition is evil or whatsoever, instead of them seeing the real message which is being taught to them in order to elevate them from that tradition. They are seeing those who are passing those messages as an enemy who is trying to, somebody who is trying to elevate you. Has he now become your enemy just because he is trying to elevate you into a different dimension? So this is something that you need to be able to understand. Now, this analogy is this. Now, let me just give you this instance now. In a situation whereby you see somebody, and now this individual does not know the value of money, or does not know the value of some certain liquid. Let's just use liquid now, a certain liquid. Now, what happened? You bring up a liquid, which is, let me just use a very, very expensive liquid that is more expensive than you can talk about. What? So there's no amount of liquid you can be able to compare to this particular to this ornament, to this particular liquid. So now what happened is, you see a child or you see somebody, you gave him, he knows the value of a currency. Let's just say $1,000 or $1 million. So you keep $1 million to this individual, and you gave him you put $1 million, and then you put this most expensive, precious oil in front of this being. And now you tell this being that, what we are doing now is just like, we are now being a mediator in the midst of these people, because we as a being knows the value of this liquid, but this being himself knows, try to think about the value of the euro or the dollar that he is seeing, that it is 1 million. So the option is, choose between these two. Are you going to take 1 million, or are you going to take this crude oil, or this? I'm not talking about crude oil now. Do not misunderstand me. I'm talking about a precious oil, a precious ornament, a precious something that is very, very precious. But this individual A does not know the value of this ornament. But the people who are trying to do something in order to convince this being, in order to do what? To take this oil, because the value of this oil is quadrillion times to compare to this money. So what this being is doing, this other being only knows the value of this 1 million. So in this situation is that these two things were being presented in the front of this fellow. You need to be able to understand it. And what is happening? He was being asked to choose $1 million right in front of him, or to choose this oil that is most expensive something. And because he only knows about the money itself, the value of this money, because nobody told him about this particular, the value of this oil. So this being is going to pick, out of what he knows, or out of his own self-ignorance or self-whatsoever, he is going to pick up this 1 million euro or $1 million, which is being presented to him, and leave this. But what I want you to understand is, this is a situation whereby these two people, or this being that you're seeing, who do not know the value of this money, or who do not know the value of this oil, there are people who knows the value of this oil, and they are there trying to convince this fellow who is about to pick the $1 million that this $1 million is worthless to compare it to this oil. This is what I want you to understand. This $1 million that is being presented in front of you, there is no way you can compare the value of this $1 million. It is nothing. It is just a drop in an ocean to compare to this particular ornament that you're seeing, or this particular oil that you're seeing, because this oil is far more, the worth of it is you can't even compare it with it, because it will buy this, it will give you this 1 million, more than quadrillion times. So you don't even have to. So our job, what I want you to understand, because why am I trying to bring this kind of analogy to you, is to be able to show you the people who are under tradition, or who are stuck in themselves, where they are misunderstanding our message, where they are getting us wrong, What we are doing is we are mediating. We are here in order to do what? To convince you. To be able to do what? To uplift you. And our upliftment is to be able to provide you with every necessary things that we needed, that you would need in order to do what? To be convinced that the place where you are going is more superior than the place where you found yourself right now. Are you really understanding what is going on? Our job is to be able to let you understand, let you know that the place where you are going is more glorious, is more mightier, is more adorable, is very much more, magnificent than the place where you found yourself. So we are like those mediators trying to do what? We are those people those agents who are convincing you to pick on this oil, because the worth of this oil is more than this €1 million or $1 million that is being presented in your front. But if you, out of your ignorance, still want to choose because your mind knows all about this particular €1 million, you're still going to follow this. That doesn't mean that's the other person is what is going against, is telling you a false thing or something, but he is only trying to do what? To give you a higher revelation, because this crude oil of a fact is going to buy, this particular oil is going to buy quadrillion millions of this particular euros that you just got. I don't know if you understand what is really going on there. So, and this is where a lot of people really got a lot of things messed up, because if they are not inclined in the knowledge of truth, you are going to be stuck by the people who are coming around. In another sense, they try to tell you that this is their tradition, and they want to stay in their tradition. They say this is what they were being born in, and this is how their ancestors used to do it, which is not right, because they did not know how their ancestors did it. Now, their ancestors used a different way from the way that they themselves were being taught in a contemporary time which they are in, but they would try to say that this is how they were being born in. Now, they follow the tradition of their own father, which is, there's nothing for them, there's nothing wrong to it. Now, we are not condemning that by telling you to follow something that is higher. This is what you need to be able to understand. We are not condemning your own tradition because we tell you to pick up on this something that is higher than your tradition. If I tell you to do this, if I tell you to pick that crude oil, or if I tell you to pick this oil, am I against the $1 million that is there? Of course I am not against it, because I know that this precious oil is going to 1,000,000% buy or pay for this $1 million that you see there. So this is something that you need to be able to understand, that there are two things that is going on here. Now, the people that accepted our own call, our own way of trying to, convince them in order to do what? That the place where they are going to is more glorious than where they found themselves. Those people are called the Jews. These ones are what? The chosen ones. These ones are the ones who have been called out from what? From their own tradition. And now they seek a better country. So they are going there with hope of what you've told them, that this thing is going to be real in the world to come. So they are moving up their own this thing based on what was being told to them. So what is only propelling those people is what? Is the faith which they have on what they were being told. And these people were people who are called Jews. So you need to be able to understand this, my dear brothers and sisters out there. So as you are making this earth journey, you came down here. And as you are here, you say that this place is your home. This is your tradition. This is how you were being born. This is how, now you remember you've been here now maybe for 120 years, 150 years, 300 years, or maybe you're here now. As you're living here, my question to you is, where then are you going to? where are you going to? Where were you before you came into this place? And where are you going to? You were from somewhere before you came here. And now that you are here, you are only going to spend like 150 years, if at all. You spend 150 years in this particular time that you found yourself. And after these 150 years, where are you going to continue the journey? Because before you came here, you were living somewhere. If you weren't living, the sperm wouldn't be swimming. You understand it. So you were alive somewhere before you came here to be materialized in this physical body, which has already been produced, which has already been made in this dimension, in order to do what? In order to encase you, in order to do what? To transport you through this particular construct that is being made on planet Earth. This construct, the body that you're seeing, is just like people who were going into the moon. Let's just say, those people who say that they went to the moon. Before, what do you see with all these astronauts? What did you see them wearing? You see them wearing one certain masks, those things, with glass and all these things in their body, because they feel like, maybe when they go to the moon or something like that, that there is, maybe the kind of oxygen there is not the same that's where they were coming from with the one in the planet Earth or whatsoever, and all these things. So this is why they wear those oxygen stuff they put in their nose. They wear those masks and everything, those clothes that they wear, which make them, to move. They say they move in the moon and all these things. Now, I want you to understand something. This is what this body that you're seeing is doing here. The same thing that these people did with their own, with their mask, which they used in order to go to, that is, in order to go to the moon, or they say they want to go to the moon with that. This is what you did. This is what's happened to you in this body. Before you came to this body, before you came here, this body is like that particular parachute. Is like that vehicle, which has already been prepared here in order to encase you so that you can be able to survive in this dimension. So, but some of you came down here and you want to stuck yourself with what? With this particular place, when you have been already living before you were being put into this body. And since after you leave this body, because this body was being made for a certain time, this body was being made, okay, that is going to spend here, is going to stay here from this particular day to this particular day, and it's going to expire in order to transcend it, in order to, that is to say, channel the same, another energy for another dimension, depending on how you utilize the same body. So you can be able to do what the body that you're seeing is a body that is being used in order to help you, maneuver in this particular dimension to transport you. So as you're being transported from this particular place, where then are you going to? But some of you want to stuck yourself. You say, okay, you want to be here because this is your tradition of your fathers. This is the tradition of your mother. This is the tradition. And you forgot that you are a visitor into a particular place. And now when you came here, you saw a lot of entities which has already been trapped here. And because these entities have already been trapped here, so you were being deceived by those who have been trapped here, who were not this. I call these people area boys. And I call them area ghetto people, people who have already been trapped down here. This is why you hear people talk about extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials were the people who were being trapped. These people were not able to do what? To ascend. They were not able to get the hell out of here. So they stuck themselves. So since they stuck themselves, they are looking for people who they can be able to do what? To also trap by telling these people that what? That you belong in this place. When you don't belong here, you were coming from somewhere. I mean, common sense should tell you, that should let you understand that what? That you are a being that is coming. Where were you when your father was 10 years old or was 5 years old? Where were you? This is a question that you need to be able. Some people say, oh, this is a silly question. How can you ask such a question? Where were you? Well, this is real. Those things that you think that are silly questions are things which you needed to be able to do what? To ask and know the answers to it. Where were you when your mom or your father was in his own mother's womb? Where were you when your mom or your dad was 10 years old? Where were you when your mom was a short time before your dad impregnated your mom? Where were you? Where were you before then everything happened, and then now you swimmed and then you swim into your mother's womb, right? So what happened? What happened after that? This body was being formed, isn't it? So you were somewhere before you were being called. Then you were being called. People don't understand what ritual is all about, right? They think that ritual is all about when you go to the shrine and whatever you do. So you don't know that when you have an intercourse with your own woman, that is also a ritual. So you are calling a spirit from a different dimension into a certain dimension. Some of you don't understand that, right? Some of you don't understand that. So whenever that things happen, you call somebody from a different world. And as you're calling that individual, you are calling him in order to come here, either to come here and help or to come here and be able to do what? And undergo or do some certain things in a certain dimension. So you had some certain things. You called people from a different dimension in order to come here. So they came down here, coming from somewhere, and now you are telling them that where they are now is their home. Does that make sense? And they, because they are not, they don't want to grow, they want to stuck themselves. They believe what you told them, that what? Oh, that this is their home. How can here be your home? Where were you 1,000 years ago? You are maybe 100 years, you are 50 years, you are 30 years, you are 20, you are whatsoever. Where were you a day before your father impregnated your mom? Where were you? This is things that you need to be able to ask yourself. And where are you going to after you leave here? Which place are you going to? Or is that the end of everything? Oh, you think that is the end of everything? Because after you leave here, then everything is going to vanish. And nobody is going to find any traces about anything again. So you can commit all kind of atrocities that you want to commit here. And there's no how. Nobody is going to find your traces again. So what is going to happen? One of a sudden you disappear. And that is it all. Is that what you think? Is that what you think life is all about? You've not yet started. So this is what we are here in order to do what? To give you the real understanding of what is before, what is now, and what is going to be. This is the connection that you need to be able to understand about your being, you as a being on your own self, to be able to really see and understand the nature of what is really going on. Because there are different levels of things. There are different levels of beings. It's just like when you see those people, those trees are those mango trees and everything that falls. Not everyone is able to do what? To germinate. The same thing with the people that came here. Not everyone. It's just like people who hustle, who go to hustling, who go to a field in order to go do their hustling. Not everyone survives. Not everyone makes it at the same time. Not everyone makes it like the other. All fingers are not equal. Some fingers are very, very tall. Fingers are, some fingers are different from the other. So all fingers are not equal. Some people came to this dimension and were able to get the hell out of here very easily. But some came down here and they got themselves stuck, and they want others in order to do what? To stuck them down. Because the many more they stuck down here, it doesn't matter who that individual is. The more people they stuck down here, the more energy of those beings which they suck, because you are a piece of energy. But you don't understand it. And the people that understand it are going to manipulate over you in order to suck that energy which you are. So the call is, and the message is, for those who would understand, those who will see what you are trying to let them know. So it is not everybody. Some people, why you are trying to tell them that this oil is more precious than this 1 million, they will think that you want to deceive them, isn't it? This is how it is. Some people would think that this oil that you are trying to convince them is going to be, that you are trying to deceive them not to do what, so that they will lose this 1 million. And this is exactly what is going on. So a lot of people are cleaving to what they know best. You can call it tradition. They are in their tradition. They cleave to their tradition. They say this is their tradition, not knowing that what they are even practicing is not even their tradition. They all have been diluted. So it is not even their own tradition. It is somebody else's tradition that they are practicing, and they say that it is theirs. Because why do I say it is somebody's own? Because they themselves are visitors into someone's domain. They need to get out of here. They came down here and they are practicing someone's tradition, and they call it their own tradition. But a cult came into them, trying to advise them, trying to uplift them in order to see the value of what is being taught to them, that it is not all about being stuck in yourself here. It is all about getting you elevated. Because when you are being elevated, you will now see and understand what is being said to you. Like on the on this scenario now, when you see those oil that is very precious, you won't see the value of it until it is being put in place, and then you will now, for those who made it out, they will now start saying, oh, so this is, that, oh, thank the Most High, Yahuwah, that they were able to do what? To even follow to the advice of this individual or this being that helped them in order. It's just like, do something now, take a decision now, and thank the people that helped you later. Because what we are doing, you can't pay us. You are not the one to pay us, but the one that sent us to be able to convince you in order to bring you up higher is the one that is going to do what? Increase us. So this is why we say the magnitude, the magnitude of what we are doing is not everyone that will be able to do what, to understand it. So this is why when we talk, when we speak, not everybody, not everyone will be able to do what, to grasp what we are saying, because some of the things that we are saying is way far beyond their mind can comprehend. I tell you real talk. And this is why those whose hearts are already straight, they will be able to do what, to start to reason. They will start to reason that you are a stranger. Be like a pilgrimer in the earth. A pilgrimer always does what? He's always with what? With just something, always ready to do what? To move. You don't come here, you don't come to planet Earth and you say you are you are a visitor here. People have visited this place. When you can talk about thousands, millions of years before. They came and they left their footprint, they left. They never claimed it like you are claiming it. You are not the first one to come here. And you are here claiming planet Earth. Now this is yours, this land is yours, the land of Palestinian is yours, the land of this one is yours, the land of this one. Somebody was, now, some of you need to be able to understand something. Jacob was being promised, Jacob was being promised the land of Canaan. It was a promise. It was a promise that he's going to do what? Take it from the hand of the Canaanites. But that doesn't mean that Jacob owned the land. It was someone promised Jacob to come and take the land. So when he takes the land, the one that promised him is going to do what? Is going to still strip off the land from what? From the hand of what? Of Jacob. Because Jacob, this land was being promised to you. And the one that promised him has to, if he wants, he can be able to take it up. Because Jacob is still then an instrument which is being used in order to do what? To control the other people who think that they say they are the ones that own the land. Ain't no such thing as people who say that the planet Earth belongs to you. You are the planet Earth. You are the owner of planet Earth. You are a visitor here. You came from water, you came from wind, you came from smoke, you came from sun, and whatsoever. There are different elements that produces beings in order to materialize. Or you came from land itself, which is a raw materials. There are different elements which is being used in order to make beings. So you can't just come from somewhere. You can't just come from somewhere and try to say that you own this particular place. This is why you see that Israel and Palestinian, they are fighting two people who do not understand what is really going on, fighting over a piece of land that does not belong to them. What is going on in the Gaza Strip? Both of them are fighting. And none of them who own the land, none of them that place belong to. The real owners of the place, which the place was being promised to them, they are in exile. And it was a promise. And that promise, they will be on the course of it, or course of attaining it. And what is going to happen? Another dimension is going to fall in. So they are going to be struggling. It is all about struggling. This place belongs to us. It was being promised to us. And the other one will say, who promised it to you? Who promised it to you? So there is going to be what? This fervent fight, struggling for the control of it. Why? Because it was a promise. It was a promise. So the other one will not say, will be kicking against that promise. And you will be trying to do what? To take that land until another new era will jump in. And that new era which is going to jump in is something what? Different. Because those beings which are going to jump into that new era do not know anything about what? About demarcation of land. They do not know about anything that say, okay, this place is your land, or you demand this one is your land, this one was being promised to you, or this one. That does not exist there. So Jacob will be struggling will be used, and then he will be the one that will be struggling in order to do what? In order to attain the promise. Because this place was being promised to you. So the promise is there. So what is going to happen? Do something. You have the right. And you'll be going to be able to do what? To take what was being promised to you. And as you are doing what was being promised to you, what is going to happen? Other forces are going to be coming against you in order to do what? In order to challenge that promise which you said that was being promised to you. And in the course of it, there is not going to be end to it. Why? Because the land is not yours. It was a promise. It was a promise. So until something different, in the course of that struggling, something different is going to chip in, and the new dimension. This is why Jacob is going to hand over the mountain into a different dimension. And in that dimension, the people who are going to be running that dimension do not know anything about your land, or you do this. No, that doesn't exist there. When did the Bible make us to understand that the land was being divided according to the number of the children of Israel? But before that one, there was no such thing as division of land. You can't come into planet Earth and you demarcate it and you say this place belongs to you, this one belongs to you. Why do you have to divide this land? This only happened to the lower being. You need to be able to understand. The higher being, those things do not exist. They do not understand those language of division. That does not work. And that promise of this one, that promise say this one belongs to you. Okay, this one is what? There's going to be what? There's going to be challenges. You don't understand what is really going on, right? Some of you. But it is time that you need to be able to be elevated to the reality of what is going on. Because my brothers and sisters, if you think that the people who are in their tradition, they say they are following the way of their own tradition. Do not misunderstand some of you who are in tradition and trying to follow my message, and yet you are misunderstanding me. This is for your own on your own problem. Because I am here to uplift people who are even in the tradition, to show them, open up their eye, to show them the higher being that is in them, in that their tradition. So they themselves, if their eye is being opened, they are one of the people who I'm here to do what? To elevate, because I am not against your own tradition, but I'm here to show you something that overrides your tradition. Just like Christianity now, when they come, they say, "Oh, I'm against Jesus." That I'm against Christianity. I'm against Jesus because I told you that the name Jesus is false, and the original name is Yahushua, which you cannot disprove. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to uplift you from the false thing which has already trapped you down here and be able to show you the real truth.